right. But
the NBA is going to be partnering with Take-2 Interactive Software to be creating a NBA 2K eSports League. This is going to be a season-long model basically after the regular NBA. It's our main topic of discussion today. But first, for more on the news and other stories, visit our blog at finalencountercast.com.
wow, that was a messy discussion.
I was going to say, I'm like, crap, wasn't this our discussion topic?
What the fuck happened there?
I bit my tongue midway through that, and it really hurts.
Nice excuse. That's at least it's unique. I don't hear that one very often.
You want to see the mark?
No, I really.
Ow.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
He bit the shit out of that tongue.
You know, it'd be awful if he went and showed me and I just spit in his mouth.
He'd probably get off on that.
Hey, show me again.
Except he'd have mono.
I already had mono.
It's not like chicken pox.
You can have mono again.
You can get it again, dipshit.
I don't think so. That's
Yeah.
what
yes,
my doctor
you can.
said.
You can.
No, if you get mono again, then you should have dye.
It's lethal the second
You know, the
time.
fact that you bit
die
your
like
tongue
2.
so hard, I'd hate to be your boyfriend. Ugh.
I'd hate for you to be my boyfriend too.
That's not you say off camera.
Eat my dick! That's what he says off camera. Anyway, so let's talk about the NBA Take-Two Interactive partnership. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
This is a big deal. I mean, this is, I think, one of the largest mainstream sports league investments in the concept of esports. Take-Two Interactive, obviously a lot of good products coming out of that company, but mainly the 2K line is what they're going to be relying on for specifically this league. And some of the specifics about the league are really interesting because in some ways this is sort of similar to what the Overwatch League had set up. So, Callie, why don't you tell us a little bit about the NBA League?
Yep. So it's going to be beginning in 2018. That's their goal. Every franchise in the NBA has shown interest in having representation in the league, though not all of them are expected to, have their team up and running by 2018.
Yeah.
The goal is to have half of them. Half of the league's teams have a esports representation.
So that's, I don't know, how
15
many?
teams.
15?
Yeah, 30 teams in the NBA right now.
Okay.
In addition, so basically the format's going to function just like the NBA. There'll be 5 players. There will be a draft where teams will be able to draft professional esports players to their team. It'll be a 5-month season just like the NBA is.
That's actually really cool.
Yep. And at that point, whoever is drafted, they will be paid a salary. They'll go through training and workouts and practice just like everything an NBA team would, and it'll be their full-time job during the season.
So since I'm sports retarded,
Sure.
Explain to me when a player is drafted to to a regular professional league, do they get to negotiate the price that they're signed on for? Who sets that?
Different leagues handle it differently. Like in the NFL, it used to be that whoever, like if you were like the number 1 pick overall, you basically had the team on the hook for a ton of money. The Lions suffered from that 3 years, 3 times. Nowadays, there is a set cap based on where you're drafted at the most you can make, so it's a lot easier to negotiate in at that point.
Okay.
I imagine the NBA will follow a similar model. The NBA has a salary cap. You can't go over it. You can only have so much, and this league is presumed to function the same way, where you'll have a salary cap, and you'll only be able to pay your players as much as that cap is, and you can't go over it.
Interesting. I mean, again, though, that having more organization for this is not a bad thing. I think it's the lack of oversight that has really allowed some players specifically to be really exploited by either management or some really shady team owners. Fortunately, it doesn't happen that often, but it is a problem that some professional esports athletes have been very outspoken about.
Yeah, we still need a lot of details on how it's going to all play out before we get there in 2018, but what we would presume is that players who are interested in competing will declare for the draft, saying, I want to be in as part of this. There'll be a combine or a series of combines where players will show up and practice and show off what they're able to do. They'll try out for teams and whatnot.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then the teams will all get to draft their players.
Now, hold on. Isn't NBA 2K, is that, like, when you have a team, you have multiple people playing? I thought that was just like a single player game or like a 1v1 type game where you control the whole team.
In the newer models or versions of the game, I believe you can have a 5v5.
Okay, so here's the one thing that I worry about, okay? Obviously, NBA 2K is a popular game, right? But is it League of Legends popular? Is it CSGO popular? What I'm afraid is going to happen is, the ENBA, we're going to call it, gets established, right? And, as the season goes on or near season's end, they look at some of the numbers. They look at the profits that the bigger things like, that Counter-Strike Go or that League of Legends is making, and they think, this wasn't as profitable as what we thought it was. They abandon it, and so now any other big actual sports leagues that were looking into investing in some way, be it their actual game like Madden or 2K or whatever, or outside into like Overwatch or something, thinks, you know what? The NBA tried that with the ENBA, and it wasn't profitable, and they start to wash their hands of it.
Well, possible, but like on the other hand side of that, you might have traditional sports fans see this league that is like they already know how it works. It's based off the NBA. If you watch NBA basketball, you can figure out how this esports league is going to work. It's going to be the same format. They may tune into that, and they may get an even bigger following than what they expect.
I don't know. I think Robbie's actually kind of hitting on something here, because I think the appeal of Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends or Dota 2 is far different than watching a game of basketball. And I have to be honest, I mean, I'd sit down and watch Street Fighter. I'll sit down and watch League of Legends. 2K anything is not high on that list. Like sitting down and watching Madden, sitting down and watching NBA 2K, that's not terribly high on my list.
I'd rather watch real basketball or real football than watch video games of them.
I kind of agree.
Video games like that just don't. I don't know. I also don't understand. Like, real sports fans love the game so much too. And it just seems like it's just a cheap version of the actual sport.
I feel like they'd actually rather just play than sit and watch somebody else play. I think that's a harder ask when you try to put a traditional sport around it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there aren't people that would watch it. Obviously, there must be enough interested in it for them to consider doing this.
Sure.
But at the end of the year, when you take your profits, you take your viewers, you take all your numbers, and you put them up next to where you want to be, and let's be honest, you don't ever just make up your own goals. Like, you're aiming to be the top dog. You're going to look to see what Riot's doing with League or, what they're doing with Counter-Strike, with Overwatch. You're going to want those numbers. And if you don't have those numbers, what are you going to think? It didn't work. How are we going to change it? What else are we going to do? I just hope that they have enough foresight if this doesn't work out to understand why it didn't work out and not just be like, no, esports aren't the future.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of concerns with it being connected to traditional sports franchises. Although, when I have a lot of conversations with people about esports, the first time you mention esports, they're like, yeah, I really like playing FIFA. Like, that's where their head goes
and that's
initially.
The 2K series, Madden, FIFA, those games all sell incredibly well. That's why they come out year after year after year after year.
Right.
And there is a market for these things, and people who play, even people who play basketball, play 2K.
But I'm not sure that that this league is asking the fundamental question: why are people tuning in to watch? What are people tuning in to watch? Like, and what is actually driving that? And I think that titles do have an effect on that. I mean, when. Yes, a great display of athleticism or a great display of skill is a great display of skill across the board. And you can't really take that away from anyone. But by the same measure, though, like, we all know that there are titles that you're just like, it could be the most impressive thing in the world. I'll watch it on a replay as opposed to in real time.
Right.
And I think that that's an important question to ask yourself. What are people going to invest that long-term time into? And I just don't know that, people watch 90 minutes of a basketball game and then what? They want to go watch e-basketball? Like, it feels like they could watch more basketball. Like, there's so much basketball that they could be watching or consuming.
There's always more basketball.
You know what I mean?
Right. I kind of wish Norris was here. He's both into watching, like, soccer, and he loves FIFA games, too. Like, he could give us some good insight on this. I don't like basketball's never been my sport.
Right.
I've never really cared about it. If it were football, if there was the NFL doing this, I've appreciated Madden games. I would tune in to watch that.
Because I just looked up NBA 2K17, the top channel right now, in 1,400 people. The top channel for Madden NFL 17, 345 people. Dare we look and see what the top channel for League is doing right now?
Well, League's the number one game on Twitch.
Yeah, but it's
way higher. Yeah, I gotcha.
But that's the thing, is that, like, games like that.
CSGO, 19,000 people.
Yeah. It's almost incomparable. Like it's incomparable. That's the word I was looking for. It's incomparable.
Uncomparably.
There you go. Thank you, retard.
You're welcome, Daddy.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a totally valid question. That, and the thing is I would actually be really interested in this. I would be much more interested in this if it wasn't attached to the 2K line. If it wasn't attached to trying to push basketball video game units.
If it was dodgeball.
Yeah, no. If they were making, like Counterwatch, Overwatch, or Counter Strike, or anything,
absolutely, I'd be way better.
Yeah, I would be much more interested in that because what the NBA brings to the table is the structure. That's what they really bring to the table.
And your money.
Well, that too.
So Nate, did I kind of flip you because you were pretty excited about this when you first heard the headline?
I mean, I think that this is a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a big deal.
No matter what, this is a big deal, and it's a big play for the spotlight. But I think that, the ESL and League and all of these other different, esports leagues have been around long enough and established enough of a foothold, both on Twitch and in mainstream culture, that if the NBA league doesn't end up panning out, I don't think it's going to tank.
You don't think it'll affect the other ones?
I don't think it'll tank esports. I think
no, definitely. Because I mean, they already have enough motion behind them individually that they're doing fine.
Right.
I just think that it kind of doesn't do anything for traditional sports leagues and companies investing in leagues overall. I mean, obviously they're still out there, buying their own teams. Miami Heat buying the Misfits. Was it?
Well, they're just partnering with
76ers.
76ers.
Yeah,
that was the other one that I was
involved in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Joe, I know that you obviously the whole esports thing. Hasn't Europe been doing stuff like this with FIFA for a long time? How's it working out for them?
Pretty well, but I mean, again, to compare, we were talking about Twitch numbers, and it's one of our chatters just pointed out. FIFA's the number 5 game on Twitch
exactly.
right now. FIFA does very well,
and that's the thing is that FIFA does very well, and so I think that
12K right now, top channel.
Yeah, like you can't ignore that. Mm-hmm. You can't ignore that. You can't look at NBA 2K17, see 1,500 max on the top channel, and go, this is probably worth the NBA's investment. Like I'm just not. I'm curious what ended up talking them into that. Like what ended up proving to them, like, this is something that's worth investing in. I mean, there's a whole lot of money in esports, but that's a step further. Like I'm sure that Take-2 just really is trying to push into the esports marketplace, and I mean, not all of them are going to work.
Yeah, I guess my biggest hope from this is that it's marketed alongside other esports such as Counter-Strike, League, Overwatch, Street Fighter. That way, any traditional sports fans that maybe didn't have any kind of passing interest in esports, even if they don't stick around for the eNBA, it gives them access to other esports that they maybe never thought, would be cool to get into. And now they do.
Maybe. I don't know. But I think that this is going to end up taking a whole lot of talent out of other leagues, too. I mean, granted, there's not necessarily a ton of overlap skill-wise with FPS versus, something like a sports game. However, if they make the financial offer attractive enough, you could end up pulling talent over. And, I don't know if the NBA is under the impression that, esports players have massive followings, but I don't think that they have as big a followings as that. Like, I don't think that there's no Michael Jordan talent that you can pull down onto an eNBA team that'll just drive the numbers.
I don't think that you would have to worry about pulling talent, because unless they're paying them like major dollars. We were actually talking before the show where we were talking about a streamer who has something like 8,000 subscribers. He could go pro, but he doesn't, because that would actually be cutting into his profit. He makes more money streaming full time than he could ever dream of making going pro.
Well, and I think part of this, I think their goal is going to be to pull more traditional esports fans or traditional sports fans, people who haven't watched esports, into this. I think people who.
But why though? Why would you want to try to pull more people into it when you have such a largely untapped audience.
It's all about tapping a new audience. Now, we're not obviously debating the fact that you probably would pull new people into esports.
Well, no, but
this is all about grabbing a new audience.
But I agree with Joe. Like that's very perceptive. That this is trying to grab people who are not already necessarily fans of esports. But if you're the NBA and making a major investment like this, don't you want a little bit more of a surefire thing to, because like that seems like, we're using the NBA to drive the popularity of 2K games and not vice versa. Like it feels like you needed a little bit more gas behind the 2K products and the competitiveness of the 2K products and establishing their legitimacy inside of esports and inside of a competitive arena than you do to be able to put that entertainment aspect into play there. And so, I think that this is really confusing where, if I'm the NBA, I think that I'm going to want to invest in the most visible, trafficked game with the biggest audience out there, not to try to expand the audience for esports, but to get the audience that I'm already not getting in esports. So which is it? Like, what's I think the better play, the smarter play overall is not to try to bring more people into esports, because it's a concept that has to grow on you. No one's gonna see competitive Overwatch and go, that's bullshit, and then see the eNBA and go, oh, well, maybe they got something there. Like, that's not a concept that's going to change your mind. Either you're open to esports or you're not. And why try to change more minds? Why try to get people to jump from one camp to the other when you've got a ready-to-go audience that's already tuning in, by the way, by the millions, as evidenced by that Counter-Strike, the Counter-Strike championship, that are tuning in by the millions to also, by the way, not television, but to Twitch.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you have an entire camp that is largely untapped, that's definitely the smarter play. Now, if people from your other camp double dip, cool, that's great for you as well. But by expanding your audience, that's obviously the smartest play, like, hands down.
How much double dipping is even going? I don't think that there is. Like, that's the thing, is like, I don't see that much double dipping. I do think that Callie, you're absolutely accurate when you say that it's trying to pull more people into esports. But I mean, do you think that that's reasonable? Do you think that that's something that's even accomplishable, especially through like a 2K NBA game?
I think what the NBA is looking at is they see, hey, we already promote the NBA and basketball. It's going to be very easy for us to promote the eNBA version of it. Like, we can do this at the same time. Whereas it's a much bigger ask of our viewership, the people that we have viewing us. It's a much bigger ask for them to say, hey, now care about Overwatch too, or something like that. I think they look at it that way.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, but if I had to guess, that's what I think they're looking at.
He does have a point here. If you're an NBA fan and you're watching a game and a 2K commercial comes up, whatever. Maybe you have that next to your console, maybe you don't. Who knows? But if an Overwatch ad shows up, you're probably getting up to get a refill of your Mountain Dew or beer. Bud Light.
But how do you make someone jump the fence into investing into the esport? Because that's the question. You got to have someone who's invested in it.
Well, and I think that's what Take-2 actually gains so much out of with this, is they're going to get so much free publicity on their 2K series. They're probably looking to expand this into a much bigger thing at this point. This could be their opportunity to take the 2K series, which, as we know, it's fine, but it's lesser known than Madden. It's lesser known than most of it, and expand into something humongous.
That's not bad. Yeah, I think that Take-Two probably has the bigger opportunity here than obviously the NBA does.
Oh, sure, yeah, because they're the ones making the games. I mean, at the end of the day, any competition that you would have for this is a big 2-hour long commercial for a 2K game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they have tons to gain, and I mean that's really like you gotta figure like. The game publishers really love that aspect because they get hours worth of free advertising out of this shit. So, I mean, that's the kind of I think that this is really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this ends up panning out.
2018 will be very fun to watch.
Yeah, and I wonder if they have a television carrier for this already.
Who's the NBA partner with? ESPN, right?
TNT?
TNT, is it?
I want to say it's TNT.
I would assume probably them then.
Callie, you mentioned that in the article, it already talks about how like the NFL is interested in pursuing like similar avenues.
Yeah.
I was any mention of the MLB? Like, do they even have a game?
Oh, fuck off.
The show.
Fuck off.
Yeah, listen, Major
MLB.
League Baseball is
Get outta
struggling
here.
enough with its viewership. I don't know that they are.
Baseball sucks. Baseball sucks as a sport. Nobody likes baseball.
Well, what about golf?
Can you just cut her mic?
No, I mean the Tiger Woods games and the other golf games do pretty well.
You know that
No, it's not even Tiger Woods anymore, Nika. It's Rory McIlroy. You got to get with the times.
When people mention golf games, all I think of is the Penny Arcade comic where Gabe took a picture of his balls and used that as the avatar on his golfer.
That's pretty great.
So good.
Oh my god. But like, can you make those things competitive? Like, I don't think you can.
I don't know.
I really don't think you can.
Entertaining and competitive?
No. Baseball's the worst. Like, literally, not even sports fans like baseball. They put baseball onto nap too.
But it's America's favorite pastime.
That's bullshit. It is not.
No, that'd be football.
Violence is America's favorite pastime, and you know it.
Violence at the side of racism.
Violence and hatred. Those are our two favorite things.
Well, we are good at them, that's for sure.
We're so good at them.